Blessed be everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about Friday the 13th. I had a request to do a video about Friday the 13th, and since we have a Friday the 13th the week of this video, and this video is going out on a Thursday Australian time, tomorrow is actually Friday the 13th. Before we dive into what Friday the 13th is and what it might mean to witches, if it means anything at all, then I will introduce myself. I'm Sandra from MysteryWitchSchool.com, author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path. If you want to know more about Wicca and witchcraft, magic, tarot, shadow work, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. If you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice, but you're just not sure what do I begin with, when do I start looking at, working with the lunar energies, drawing down the moon? What about the Sabbats, and how do I work with deities? And do I want to work with deities? And what about the magic? Take a look at my free video called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. It's about 30 minutes long, so it's not a long masterclass. There's a link in the description field below this video. The whole thing will just give you a bit of a blueprint as to how to slow yourself down and just give yourself one subject at a time to practice and study, basically, rather than trying to do it all at once. So as I said before, it's called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice, link in the description field below this video. So Friday the 13th is often associated with bad luck and cats, black cats particularly. And there's probably a lot of cross-pollination culturally when it comes to all of this stuff too. A lot of it comes from Christianity, which of course was influential in Europe, in Northern Europe. And so you've got a bit of connection there, maybe coming from the Norse mythology, as well as then the whole Christian story. So there's a lot of probably bits and pieces that have been put together. It became popular. The whole thing of Friday the 13th really got into popular culture. I think it was 1907 with a novel that was called Friday the 13th, and it was by a Thomas William Dawson who wrote this. And apparently the story was to do with a stockbroker who was trying to manipulate Wall Street, or actually crash Wall Street, by somehow fabricating some situation with the whole Friday the 13th superstition. And so that was in 1907, and then in 1980 there was a movie called Friday the 13th, which many of you have probably seen. So it became into popular culture through books and through movies. But it's been in the Western culture for a while now. The number 13 in Norse mythology was considered a bad number or a bad omen because, or possibly because, there was a story about a dinner party in Valhalla that the gods were attending, and there were 12 of the gods. Loki wasn't invited, and probably being a little miffed, he did rock up to the party, which made him the 13th. And he ended up persuading one of the gods to spear another god, but apparently the spear was dipped in mistletoe and it poisoned one of the gods. So 13 was considered unlucky because Loki was the 13th god to attend that party. Now this is interesting because you begin to see a bit of a correlation with the Christian story of this. When I was in primary school, I was told that we shouldn't be talking about Friday the 13th and talk about it as being, unlucky and all of those things that go with Friday the 13th, because it was associated with Christ's crucifixion. And so we had a nun who proceeded to tell us the story of the origin of Friday the 13th. There were 12 apostles and Jesus. Judas Iscariot, who was the apostle who betrayed Jesus in the story, was the 13th person to turn up at the dinner party. Interesting. And he betrayed Jesus, and Jesus was crucified on a Friday. So that, from a Christian perspective, seems to be where Friday the 13th came into connection there. Whereas with the Norse, it was just the 13th it wasn't considered connecting with the Friday, because in Norse mythology, Friday was a very positive day. It's the day of Frigg or Freya. And I wonder with the black cats if maybe there'd been a little bit of connection to the Friday in the Norse, because we've named Friday after Frigg or Freya. And the black cats drawing the chariot, Frigg's chariot, was drawn by two black cats. So maybe that came in with the black cat thing on Friday the 13th. Who knows? Another connection with Friday the 13th and Christianity, and a little bit later, was the Knights Templar, when they were massacred, or thought to be massacred, on the 13th, Friday the 13th. So that's a bit of history about why Friday the 13th is considered unlucky. But if you look at Friday from the Norse point of view, and not just from the Norse point of view, from the Roman mythology and Greek mythology, they were the days of the goddesses of love and fertility and even magic and the beloved and loving things, the appreciation of beauty. All of those things were associated with those goddesses. So Frigg, Freya, Venus and Aphrodite, all associated with Fridays. And if you're looking at it from a goddess perspective, from a pagan perspective, Friday is a very positive day. It is the day of belonging to Venus. So you've got love, you've got wealth, you've got all of those things that Venusian energy can bring in. And when we're doing magic for love or even money magic, Friday is a good day to do that magic. There are 13 lunar cycles in a solar year. So 13 is a lunar number. And for cultures that still work with a lunar calendar, they have 13 months. And then when you think of the monthly cycle, we're thinking again back to the goddess energy of the menstrual cycle. So if you want to see Friday the 13th in a positive light, a life-giving light, so the light end of the polarity as opposed to the dark and dismal bad things going on stuff that came from the Easter story or the Knights Templar story, but seeing it more as a positive thing, then you could celebrate that as a very lunar goddess energy and work with it that way. The Friday the 13th that we have coming up this week at the time of this video is going to be in a dark moon phase. So it's not the best Friday the 13th maybe to do love and fertility and all of that sort of stuff if you're doing magic. It's much more of a reflective time, but what a wonderful time to be reflecting on going within yourself and working with the sacred feminine energy and looking at that energy and how that energy works in your life, and when you use that energy and when you don't use it, and exploring that energy in the world and in life. So you could work with it in that way. So it turns it into something that's actually procreative. If you're working with, maybe if it's a dark moon, you won't be doing magic, but it could still be, what do you want to maybe seed or birth in the coming moon cycle? What is it that you really would love to do with your life, that you'd like the blessings of the goddess to do? And allow yourself some time to go into the cave and ponder these things. And I don't mean literally a cave, unless you can literally go into a cave, that would be great. But like the cave of your psyche sort of thing. And just giving yourself that time out to ponder. And Friday the 13th is the perfect time to do that, to work with that womb-like energy, connecting to the 13 lunar cycles and to the Friday energy of love and the appreciation of beauty, the beauty within kind of energy. So work with it that way. I think it's much more positive to work with uplifting vibrational energy than to focus on the dark and the dismal stuff when it comes to the more commercial view of Friday the 13th, or the more mundane view of Friday the 13th. Take it a little bit back to more of a pagan roots, I guess, is what I want to say. If you want to learn witchcraft and Wicca with me, so if you've looked at the video, how to start your witchcraft practice, or you haven't, and you think I'm really ready to actually become unstuck, to stop being confused, to try and build that connection again to nature, to universe, to yourself, then do take a look at the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. It's my 12-month course. It is there for you to do. You can take longer than 12 months. You just can't take less than 12 months to do that course. It'll get you practicing the craft, and it'll show you how you can connect to yourself and to nature and to the universe. There's a link in the description field below this video. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com. Blessed be.